Hello, everyone. Welcome to week 2 of our course. I wanted to get started today reading an excerpt from you from this book called Other People's Children, Cultural Conflict in the Classroom by Lisa Delpit. I just found this reference in here and just thought it was a great kind of tie-in to the work that you're going to be doing this week. If we do not have some knowledge of children's lives outside of the realms of paper and pencil work, and even outside of their classrooms, then we cannot know their strengths. Not knowing students' strengths leads to our teaching down to children from communities that are culturally different from that of the teachers in the school. Because teachers do not want to tax what they believe to be these students' lower abilities, they end up teaching less, when in actuality, these students need more of what school has to offer. Teaching less rather than teaching more can happen in several ways. Those who utilize skills-based approaches can teach less by focusing solely on isolated, decontextualized bits. Such instruction becomes boring and meaningless when not placed in any meaningful context. When instruction allows no opportunity for children to use their minds to create and interpret texts, then children will only focus on low-level thinking and their school-based intellect will atrophy. Skills-oriented approaches that feature heavy doses of readiness activities also contribute to the teaching less phenomenon. Children are typically assigned to these activities as a result of low scores on some standardized test. However, they end up spending so much time matching circles and triangles that no one ever introduces them to actually learning how to read. Should anyone doubt it, I can guarantee you that no amount of matching circles and triangles ever taught anyone how to read. Worse, these activities take time away from real kinds of involvement in literacy, such as listening to and seeing the words in real books. Teaching less can also occur with those who favor holistic or child-centered approaches. While I believe that there is much of value in whole language and process writing approaches, some teachers seem almost to be using these methodologies as excuses for not teaching. I am reminded of a colleague who visited a classroom in California designed around the state-mandated whole language approach. My colleague witnessed one child in a peer reading group who clearly could not read. When she later asked the teacher about this child, the teacher responded that it was okay that this fourth grader could not read because he would understand the content via the subsequent discussion. While it is great that the child would have the opportunity to learn through a discussion, it is devastating that no one was providing him with what he also needed, explicit instruction in learning how to read. In some process writing classrooms, teachers unfamiliar with the language abilities of African American children are led to believe that these students have no fluency with language. They therefore allow them to remain in the first stages of the writing process, producing first draft after first draft, with no attention to editing or completing final products. They allow African American students to remain at the level of developing fluency because these teachers do not understand the language competence their students already possess. The key here is not the kind of instruction, but the attitude underlying it. When teachers do not understand the potential of the students they teach, they will underteach them no matter what the methodology. So this week in chapter 2, you are really delving into the why behind the rights of English learners. Misconceptions and non-English speaking students abound, and it's important to understand the legal aspect of student learning. As part of this, if you choose to take the test that will certify you for ELL certification, important legal cases will be fairly large part of that test. So beginning to understand the importance of kind of these benchmark, landmark cases is going to be really important. As I said, this legislation creates benchmarks for language acquisition and the rights of students in the classroom. And while programs are still lacking in many schools, what you can do as a teacher for these students is vitally important. You will be reading about two important researchers in the field, Krashen and Cummins, and their views of second language acquisition, which will tie in with the learning theories that are presented in the book. There are many videos on YouTube regarding Krashen and Cummins if you're interested in learning more about their work. When you're reading about the learning theories, you'll probably be tempted to evaluate the kind of theory that you think you currently display in the classroom. And if you're not yet teaching in the classroom, you may be tempted to try to pick out which one you think you would like to be the focus of your teaching when you are. But I really want to challenge you, as the book does, to find a really good blend of these theories. There are pros and cons to each, especially when it comes to ELL students and the best way that they absorb the content and the information. So as Delpit says in her book, which, by the way, if you're interested in picking this up, you can probably find it in a used bookstore, or thriftbooks.com is one of my favorite sources. I checked it earlier and they had a copy for $7.79. So could be a good resource for you. But as Delpit says, when teachers do not understand the potential of the students they teach, they will underteach them no matter what the methodology or the learning theory, which is what we're learning this week. So please keep up the great work. You guys are doing great with your discussions. I'm here for you. I'm proud of you. If there is anything that you need from me, please reach out sooner rather than later. I'll see you guys in the discussion and next week for our next video.